Hello, everyone. Welcome back to All for United. I'm Mark, for those of you who don't know. So this is the Pride of All Europe, obviously in association with the Mystery Shirt Club. Go give them a follow, mystery_shirt_, and obviously check out their stuffs. As I said last time, so mysterious, you don't know what you're going to get. Neither do we. So anyway, I've got a great set of guests on today. Stu, you seem to be on with me all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Asking questions. Charlie, good to have you on, mate. Obviously, I've been on a show with you before, but not while I was hosting. So good to have you, mate. And Henry, been on your show before, buddy, and it's good to see your face on here, mate. And hopefully, we'll see you on much more to come. So obviously, we're going to touch upon all the games at the moment, all the games yesterday. So we had Ukraine, Macedonia. As I said the other day on James's show, actually yesterday, no disrespect to them, but obviously it was a little bit of a nothing game, not really something that at least us English fans would be too concerned about. But then there was obviously Denmark and Belgium, obviously with Denmark and all the horror the week before. And Belgium obviously looking in very good form. And then obviously the Netherlands as well. So anyway, Stu, did you watch any of those games at all?
Well, I watched the powerhouse that was North Macedonia. Actually, in all fairness, to be fair, they gave a really good account of themselves. Ukraine were, far superior. There's no getting away from it. But I thought North Macedonia, they're going to go away from this tournament with credit and a bit of a belief that maybe in 4 years' time, depending on what strength and depth they've got and what youth they've got coming through, they won't be the so-called whipping boys of the group.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, actually. I mean, you didn't really expect anything of them. And Ukraine aren't any mugs. They've got Shevchenko. They've got one or two, maybe more quality players. I don't know their squad well enough. But to get a 2-1 loss and a goal out of that, I think is actually quite commendable. And I think you're absolutely right. So hopefully that can give them the momentum.
I mean, look, 10, 15 years ago, teams were thrashing Turkey 8-0, 5-0, teams of that nature. But those days are gone. And that's great about competition. That's great about, the modern game. That's great about modern science, modern coaching, I guess. So from that point of view, it's great. And the other thing is that you never want to go into any tournament with teams that are just lambs for the slaughter. And so, credit to North Macedonia. Credit also to Denmark. I mean, they came out of the traps yesterday on fire. It was like they'd been shot out of a cannon. And really, they'll be ruined the loss because they could have had Belgium completely on the rack in the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, could have scored 2 or 3 goals, really. And then in the end, I guess Belgium's quality shone through. Belgium were never going to be as poor in the second half as they were in the first half. And Denmark should have really been prepared for that, and I don't think they were. Belgium just hit them hard, hit them quick, and got a couple of good goals. De Bruyne's second, or the Belgium second goal, De Bruyne's first was quality. It was really well made. And as for the final game, who was it again? I can't remember. I did watch all 3 yesterday.
Netherlands, Austria. Well, I'm going to move on to Henry, if that's okay, mate.
Yeah,
talk a little bit more about Belgium. Obviously, it was a very disappointing, as I said, horror show for Denmark last week, and I think that really sort of put them on the back foot. But they did, as Stu mentioned, they came out of the traps. Belgium were very much on the back foot, and they didn't know what had hit them. We talk about the Belgium squad. I was highly, I was praising them quite highly yesterday, but I feel that really they've got quite an aging back four. Their midfield is very strong and so are their strikers, but really, if you take 1 or 2 players, i.e. De Bruyne out of the side, they can be caught. And I think that showed yesterday. I think De Bruyne come on and changed the game. What are your thoughts on that, Henry?
Yeah, it's one of those where their side is forward thinking, and it's great going forward. It really is. It's one of the best in the world. That's why they're ranked number 1. But going the other way, you look at the ages of the defence. So you've got Vertonghen, who I think's close to, I think he's 33 or 34. You've got Vermaelen on the bench, who's 35. Alderweireld, who's 31. you've got players that are really aging and lacking so much pace. That shone out so big yesterday that they were lacking so much pace, and Poulsen and Braithwaite were, I mean, they're all over him. And if they come up against an Mbappe or a Griezmann or someone remotely with quality in the final third and a bit of pace, they're in big trouble. So yeah, their only way to defend is to attack, I think, in this tournament, and they'll get caught. I don't think they'll go as far as the semi-finals. I just can't see it. I think they'll get caught, and you can be great going forward, but you've got to have a solid kind of spine to your team, and that's sort of disappearing in their side at the moment.
Yeah, thanks, mate. So I was on mute there. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think, you know, as I said yesterday, I really gave them a lot of praise, but you know, they had that golden generation, didn't they? Sort of 10, 12 years ago, where all these sort of star names were coming through, and you think about like Alderweireld, Vermaelen, Eden Hazard, and they are now on the brink of aging or are aging, in fact. And I think that could be a little bit detrimental to them, really. I mean, I don't know as many talented Belgian players that are coming through now, and I think this sort of goes back to England, really. We've been talking about their golden generation many moons ago with Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard, and then it kind of fizzled out for us. We weren't able to capitalise on that, a bit like Belgium. It's fizzled out for us, but now we're on the brink of having this wonderful squad that we really need to take advantage of. So I think Belgium need to be careful with that. Really.
This is their last year. Is their last year, their last hope of winning a top trophy, because I mean they struggled so badly yesterday, and Sean, the defense was just a complete mess. And they've got a couple of youngsters in. I mean, slightly younger players in like the likes of Boyata and Denea, but they're not good enough. They're just not good enough to play at a top international level, and they get exposed. So this year I think it's their last chance, and they should just go hammer and tongs for it, go all out attacking, and see what happens. Go down fighting.
Hammer and tongs. Yeah, well said, mate. I totally agree with you. I think that this is their last opportunity, and but credit where credit's due. They beat who were their first game against? Russia. Yeah, they beat them 3-0. Now, maybe not so recently, Russia had a relatively decent squad. You know, when you think Pavlyuchenko, Arshavin, who's the goalkeeper? They had some very good, talented players anyway, but that's obviously now past them. But they're no mugs, you know, they've still got one or two decent players. So that's credit to Belgium. You know, we talk about their defensive frailties, and they managed to get 3 and not concede. And then they obviously went behind and they were able to turn that round, obviously, thanks to De Bruyne. Right, Charlie, I'm going to move on to you, buddy. Did you see the Netherlands-Austria game last night? I caught a glimpse of it. I think they're quite similar to Belgium, really. They've sort of defensively probably not the same without Virgil, okay? But actually going forward, they're okay. Memphis Depay, ex-Man United player, obviously scored the goal, did actually pretty decent yesterday. But what were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah. Netherlands, they're one of those teams you never really know what you're going to get. I think they've got some very good players. Frankie de Jong, again, was just incredible in the midfield. He really was. Wijnaldum playing in that slightly more advanced role than he does for Liverpool was fantastic again. They've got 4 or 5 very good players. They've got obviously De Ligt from Juventus. They've got de Jong, Wijnaldum, Depay, and then you look at the rest of their squad and you've got the goalkeeper's not particularly good. You've got the striker up there who, you know, doesn't look quite right. So I think, again, they are a little bit like Belgium in the fact I don't think they'll get past the quarter or the semi-final. But Austria were terrible. It's like these teams, you know, these middle-of-the-road teams, as you might want to call them, sort of Austria, Turkey. I've been really disappointed with a lot of these sort of middle teams that you think, right, can they cause an upset? But Austria were terrible again. You know, Alaba giving away a silly penalty. He's supposed to be the captain. He's supposed to be the leader, the one who shows everyone else what to do. He gave away a silly penalty. And yeah, Netherlands, don't get too carried away by Netherlands. You know, they've played they played Ukraine, they nearly messed that one up, and they played a poor side in Austria. So yeah, fair play. They've won their games, but again, I don't think Netherlands are anything special, to be honest.
I think it's worth pointing out, lads, that the group phase of any tournament, you're just feeling your way in. But the big thing about both the Holland and Belgium is that they won their group. They won 2 games each, irrespective of the opposition. And I watched Holland last night. They weren't great. I thought De Jong was tremendous. Yeah, absolutely. Depay he's just average, isn't he, at best, really. I do like Weghorst up front. I know he's a bit of a cart horse, 6'6" or 7'7". He's very He's very
Stuart, a very quick question for you, actually. Sorry to interrupt. So I think one of the only teams to lose their very first game and then go on to win it was Spain when they first won it in the World Cup. Okay, so you're absolutely right. I mean, normally in the group stages, you can't really tell what's going to happen. It's sort of on a knife edge, isn't it? The second game's quite pivotal, make or break. But even if you lose your first game, which England haven't done for many, many, many times, they've won their first game. So do you think that makes our chances better? And do any of you, think any of the teams that may have lost their first game could actually turn it around and qualify?
Well, it's qualification. When you go into the group stage of a tournament, it's qualification, qualify, and then see where it takes you after that. You have to qualify. With regards to teams that probably are struggling, I mean, Croatia could turn it around today. You have to look at it. If Croatia win today, and we get a draw, then it's all to play for. Between Scotland and Croatia. Yeah, so with there only being a few games, a finite amount of games in the group stages, it's very, very critical that you win, and it doesn't matter how you do it, just win. And what that does, it breeds. I don't like confidence in football because I was never a confidence player. You just kind of get on the pitch and get on with it.
You just got the job done, didn't you, Stu?
Absolutely. But you hear confidence all the time, about professional footballers. You should be absolutely relishing this. Every game you go into in this type of tournament environment, you should be relishing, and you kind of scratch and you claw your way through games. And really, that's what Holland did last night. As poor as Austria were, and they were really bad. That's what they did. And you'll find that with Scotland later. I know you want to talk about our match later, but you'll find that with Scotland tonight, the game will be bitty. They'll break it up. They'll just be aggressive because they've got to find a way to either get a point or win. Because I'm pretty sure Scotland won't leave it till the Croatia game to decide their fate. They're going to want to decide their fate tonight. So it's going to be a really interesting day of football, I think, again. And that's the beauty of, as I say, tournament football and small groups fighting, for the first and second. I know, is it the 4 third teams go through? Is it 4? Yeah.
You know what? I'm not 100% about it. But I think
how many groups? Only.
So there's 6 groups, 4 teams.
I don't know how it works. Yeah, but we know. Teams. Yeah, you would put your money on that one of the third place is going to go to either Germany, France, or Portugal. Yeah. It's going to come out of that group, isn't it?
Yeah. And also that probably, I mean, I don't want to listen. I don't want to jinx it. I'm not going to say that England aren't going to win the 2 final games, but the fact that we got 3 points on the board, and there is that possibility.
Puts us in that driving seat. Yeah,
it does put that in that driving seat. But obviously, we want to be top or second, probably because of the teams we might have to face in the next round. But yeah, just quickly then.
Quickly, Mark, on that. It is another thing, really. It doesn't matter who you face. In my humble opinion, I hear this all the time. Oh, let's not draw X. Let's not draw Y. Get on with it.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I was caring for everybody. I know that there will be lots of people out there saying, or at least it'll be a topic. Oh, Christ, we don't want to get so and so.
I was saying my opinion on that. I've always thought, get on with it. I'd rather
I agree.
Teams on at any one
time. We talked about United weeks ago. In '99, and talking about City's fixtures and all that sort of thing. And in '99, the teams that we had to beat in order to get to that FA Cup final and Champions League was unbelievable. And that gives you a sense of pride and that's real appreciation for the victory. And you're right. And I do always say this as well, that that England really, you want to be beating the best. And I do believe that we've got one of the strongest squads. So why not? Henry, I'm just going to move on. Just get your views on the groups, the first 3 groups at the moment, at least. So you've got Italy and Wales, top 2. And then Switzerland and Turkey, Switzerland with a point in Turkey. Is it pretty much going to be Italy and Wales that go through, or would you say that anyone else could turn that around? Probably not Turkey, but with Switzerland.
Turkey are done for, and they've been really underwhelming. I'm in agreement with everyone else. I never said they're going to be a dark horse team because their run into the tournament was really poor. I know people were saying a few months ago they're having some really good results, and they were, but then they fell off a little bit, and some really kind of sloppy performances. And no matter what people say, having a good build up to the tournament is actually huge for the side in terms of confidence and everything. So I think Wales have got a really good chance of going through. I mean, it's still. I mean, they'll go through. I think they'll go through regardless. They've got enough points now. They'll go through. I think they've got 4 points, haven't they? They'll go through.
Yeah.
Talking about that quickly, I've got to touch on the Wales going quickly. How refreshing was it to see a team not sit by the corner flag and actually go and try and score a second goal?
Yeah.
How refreshing was that?
Something we don't see enough at United, or at least that's been an argument.
You never see it. You never see that. I mean, Bale. That was just absolutely sublime on both wings. So sorry, I'll shut up now. But I was just,
no, absolutely fine.
It was great to see. I just thought it was great to see. So.
He was great. You're absolutely right. For a penalty. He was great to see a rugby shot for a penalty.
Awful. Yeah, of course.
No, honestly, it's great to hear your thoughts, mate. No problem at all. Yeah, I think you're right. I think with Wales, spoke about them yesterday. They've got they've got some very talented players, and I think they're really. I mean, looking at it on paper, with people talking behind the scenes saying, Switzerland, they're not anymore because they've got some good players. Turkey are a bit underwhelming, but they weren't to begin with. Before they started, and really they had a bit of a difficult group, but. I think that the win yesterday at least will give them the impetus to qualify, and I think you're right. I think it will be Italy and Wales.
Italy could do some serious damage in this tournament. They could do some.
Yeah, I agree.
They're. I mean, they haven't come up against a really top class team, but scoring 2 and 3 goals in a game in a tournament, that's difficult to do. I know people will. You can play North Macedonia and score 3 goals, but when you're playing in the group that they're in and scoring 3 goals against 3 or 2 or whatever against top teams, you've got to have a pretty decent side to do that. And they look, I don't know, there's something about them this time. They've got a bit of spike to them this kind of tournament, and also shape. Italy at times in the last few years have lacked a bit of tactical knowledge to go and win big games, and I see that side, and I think they've got it back. Finally,
they do look like a different prospect this time around, don't they? I think you're right. I think in the last they didn't qualify, did they, a couple of Euros or World Cups ago, for whatever reason. I think they did go through a very dull patch. I'm going to move on to the Group B. So Charlie, I'm going to come to you with that one, mate. So Belgium and Russia obviously sitting pretty at the top, with 6 and 3 points. Obviously Finland have got 3 as well. Denmark are out. So do you see a surprise possibly from Finland, or do you think that that's foregone and maybe Belgium and Russia? I mean, that's a really difficult one. That's a lot harder to call that one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tough one, that group. I think Russia will go through because if you look, Finland have obviously got to play Belgium in the last game, whereas Russia have got Denmark, and Denmark already out. Will they really be up for it if they're already out? I don't know. Sometimes they want to obviously make everybody proud, but I think Russia, looking at the group now, I think Russia will probably go through in second place. I'd be surprised if Finland get a result against Belgium, but I was talking on Twitter last night about the third game, because it's very interesting, the third game, because teams like Italy, Belgium, Netherlands, who are already pretty much going to top their groups, will they rest some big players for the knockout stages? If I was in charge of those clubs, I think you've always got to keep the momentum going in a tournament. So, but obviously, because because of what the season we've had with the virus situation and non-stop games, I think you might see maybe Kevin De Bruyne might get a rest against Finland. They might not start him just because, you know, you don't want to risk injuries like that. But as I said before, in a tournament, you need momentum. It's like the England game today. I hope that Phillips and Rice play again. I hope that Maguire doesn't start. I hope Stones and Mings play. I don't think we should risk Maguire today. I hope he keeps the momentum going. You've always got to keep the good things in the solid part of the team. Keep the base the same, because people need to get, you know, this is a tournament. They're playing for England. You don't get much time. Southgate hasn't had much time with his team. You know, doesn't get much time. And he's picked the team last week against Croatia, and it worked. The two centre-backs worked for me, and Rice and Phillips worked. Rice and Phillips also worked very well. So I think in a tournament, you've got to keep that base of the team, the keeper and the two centre-halves. You need to keep that as solid as you can throughout the tournament. But there is going to be a time where, I know you asked me about Group B, but going to England today, there is going to be a time where Maguire will come in. And I hope it's not today, really, because I'm not quite sure he's fully ready. I know every footballer wants to play, but I think it's a bit of a risk.
I agree with you. I think you're absolutely spot on there, Charlie.
I'm on mute. So this was going to be one of my questions later. So I will revisit this and get your opinions on that, because I've got what I think should happen, and I want to see if you agree with that. So just a quick fire round with you guys then, very quickly. Netherlands are pretty much through in Group C. I think that's done, isn't it, basically? Ukraine and Austria, which one, Stu?
Yeah, it's a really good group, that, isn't it? Because I would think Ukraine will go through with Netherlands, with Holland. I think it'd be Holland, Ukraine, and Austria will probably go through as third. So I could just see Ukraine sneaking it above Austria. That would be my thought.
Ukraine or Austria?
I think Ukraine, Austria, as people have mentioned on here, they're a mess. They're an absolute, and by the sounds of it, interesting thing, I don't know whether anyone was watching the game yesterday, but one of the commentators said that apparently the players last game, the game before this one, didn't know their kind of starting formation until about 5 minutes before the game.
Yeah.
And it's like, what on earth is that manager doing? So I'm sorry, but they're done for. They've had it. If the manager can't figure out formation like a day before the game and work on it with the team, he's done for.
Ukraine for you, Charlie. You? What about yourself?
I think it could be a draw between Ukraine and Austria. I think they could both go through with 4 points. I think that could be an interesting situation. But yeah, obviously, if it's a draw, Ukraine will finish second. So yeah, I do think Ukraine will finish second in that group.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, that could be an interesting one. You're right. To be honest with you, I've not looked into the new structure enough, and I wish I could have that good conversation with you guys today and talk about exactly who could go through. And obviously, that builds up that excitement, doesn't it? But new formats takes a bit of getting used to. Right. I'm just going to quickly mention we've got quite a few viewers. Thank you very much for joining today. We've got a couple on Twitter and a couple on Facebook. Come over to youtube.com/allforunited and join in here. I want to be able to read your comments and talk through those. Right, so I think we're all in agreement on those. So we're going to move on to England, okay? I will be asking the Harry question in a moment, Charlie, but I'm going to save that till last now to keep you all on the edge of your seats. Big game tonight. Obviously, we saw them beat Croatia. That in itself was a great thing. You know, we lost against them in the semi-final of the World Cup 3 years ago. And I think that should be testament to them, really. And obviously, whenever you come into these sorts of tournaments, we've seen that with every team, I think. It takes a little bit of time to sort of find your feet and get some momentum going. And I think you're seeing that now as the second games develop, right? But obviously Scotland, we were talking backstage, Stu. Scotland have done very well, really, and that's no disrespect to them at all to get to where they are. They've got a very good squad of players, very well drilled, don't concede anything. I know that obviously wasn't the case against the Czech Republic, but they're no mugs. So obviously this has always been a very sort of, I guess, bitter rivalry as such, as it would be with Wales, as it would be with Ireland. And you can't really say categorically that England should run away with it. They probably will. We hope they will. But Scotland are a good team. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, the old sweaty socks, as I like to call them. Look,
I hope not.
Let's be under no illusion. Tonight is not going to be a walk in the park. The patriot in me says we'll thrash them, but the footballer in me knows that we won't. It's going to be a really, really difficult game. And this is the one, there's an area on the pitch where Southgate has got to get it absolutely right. And this is where he should have bought Wan-Bissaka, and that is the right side, the right back, because by all accounts, Tierney is available. And Scotland play with Tierney and Robertson, and they are both very attacking left footers, both very, very dangerous. And I think if he plays Walker, although Walker's got the pace, he can't defend. So I would imagine, or the potential, he might put Trippier in at right back, although he's not as quick. He could at least defend, or possibly even Reece James. So there may be a change on the right side, which I think he's got to consider. With regards to Scotland as a team, if they play Che Adams, I think he'll give Stones and Mings problems. I'm absolutely in a total agreement with Charlie with regards to Maguire. It's too early for him, especially coming off a knee ligament injury. And I also hope he plays Rice and Phillips. I would make those two changes at fullback, and I would keep the remaining players in place that beat Croatia. But make no mistake, gentlemen, and everybody watching, if you think it's going to be a walk in the park tonight, you must be joking. Because if I was in that Scotland camp personally today, I would be raring to rip it up at Wembley and stick two fingers up to everybody concerned.
And remember, Stu's not a confidence player. He'd get that job done too.
Yeah, absolutely. Scotland's only chance of going through hinges on tonight's result. I don't care what anybody says about the last game. You've got to, if you're in that Scotland camp, that is the game. And so, in the England camp, you've got to be aware of what you're going to face. You're going to face bitty, nasty, sniping players. They're going to do anything to put you off the game. They're going to try and bully you. They're going to go in hard. It'll be really fast-paced, really fast-paced. If Clark comes and sits, I'll be amazed. I can't imagine he will risk sitting early doors. I'd imagine he'll want to take it to us. I think it's going to be a really tough game. I expect us to win, but I think it'll be 1-0 or 2-1.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. I think it's going to be very cagey. I don't think it's going to be the free-flowing football that I think we expected, or at least expected a little bit more against Croatia. And I think it will probably be talks afterwards. If that doesn't happen, oh Christ, are England actually good enough? But I think it's one of those games where kind of ability goes out the window, doesn't it? It is a big rivalry, and you're absolutely right. They will be drilled in today in training or yesterday, whenever, that this is a must-win game, and they'll all be buzzing. They've got connections with some of our players. Calvin Phillips has got two really good mates that play for Leeds that are in the Scotland team. Yeah, so they'll be conversing between each other, and it will be a very difficult one. Henry, do you echo those, or do you think that, I know like you like to go against the grain sometimes. Do you think that it will be free flowing and England can really come out with a very good win? I mean, don't forget they lost 2-0 against the Czech Republic. I think they were surprised by that, and I think Scotland probably were too, and therefore that could be a detriment to their confidence.
It depends on the starting lineup, as Stu mentioned before. I think if it goes with Grealish and Sancho, I think they could be in for a long night. I seriously do. Jack Grealish for me is he could be player of the tournament if he was fit enough.
If he was just bloody played right.
Yeah, exactly. If he got if he had a kind of less of an injury problem going into the tournament, and he played every game, I think he'd be player of the tournament. I think he's a fantastic player. So I think we should go, all out against these lot. What have you got to lose? Seriously, what have you got to lose? You know, you have the chance, you have bragging rights, you have the chance to get bragging rights, and you have the chance to knock out a home nation, you know, and not just knock them out, absolutely humiliate Scotland in the first tournament in 23 years they've been in. You have the chance to completely destroy their hopes and dreams.
But you're right there, Henry, but therein lies the issue, doesn't it? Because they'll be expecting that. That's exactly what they'll be, expecting us to want to do. And that could play into Scotland's hands. Although I agree with you, and I agree with you on Grealish. And the reason I didn't say anything about him is because of his injury issues. We do need him. And nobody really knows what happened with Sancho, do we, last week? I've not heard anything. I mean, correct me if you all know, but I don't think we've all heard. So I would imagine they'll go with a similar team. But you are right, Henry. It would be absolutely brilliant to smash them. But where this group is poised, a Scotland win, a Croatia win, it can turn the group right up on its head. Yeah. It's a really poised one.
You've got a match team for work rate. If you match Scotland for work rate, we've got so much more talent than them. You match them for work rate, it could be 4 or 5 if we match them for work rate. That's what Southgate I'd be saying if I were him.
Yeah,
match them all over the pitch, man to man. Match them for work rate because they'll work harder. They have to work harder. They're not a good enough side. They couldn't beat the Czech Republic at home. Their first home crowd, and they got absolutely stuffed by the Czech Republic. And that's a side that we beat pretty comfortably. We could beat in the qualifiers with our eyes closed.
But this is why it's key to Scotland, isn't it? Because if Croatia beat the Czech Republic today, our group is so wide open right now. Today's results are going to be pivotal to where the group is. Really interesting.
What I was saying earlier, the second game is
really we'll know before we start, won't we? Yeah.
It really is make or break, isn't it? The second game. This is why it's so important. Henry, I love your positivity, mate. And
he's right.
No. Listen, I'm not saying you aren't positive, Stu. I'm just very much on your camp today.
Yeah, Mr. Positive.
Absolutely destroy them tonight, and I hope we do. Charlie, do you agree with these two? Do you think that? Well, obviously, Stu's saying it's going to be very cagey. Sort of, we're not going to see some free-flowing football. Henry is obviously convinced that we've got a good squad, and he's right. We've got the squad in order to demolish them. But do you think, being a rivalry, that's going to have an impact on the game, and we might see more of a cagey game?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Stu. I put my prediction out this morning. I think it'd be 1-1 tonight. I think it'd be a very, very nasty, one of those games. It's not going to be free flowing. You're going to have to battle. You're going to have to really be up for it. On the lineup, I would start. I think Shaw or Chilwell has to start on the left back. And then I've heard that Reece James apparently could start at right back, which would be interesting. And I think that would be a good call because I'm, like Stu said, I'm not too keen on Kyle Walker. I think he does silly things, makes silly tackles, a bit rash at times. And when you've got Tierney and Robertson, they're quite fast players. They've got a few skills. You don't really want Walker doing anything rash in the penalty area. So I think I'd probably start Shaw and Trippier, or Shaw and James as the two fullbacks, and then I'd definitely keep Rice and Phillips. And then the front line is a bit of a difficult one because I don't think Southgate likes Sancho particularly. I think that's quite clear. And I also don't think he's too keen on Grealish as well. I think he's sort of been forced to bring Grealish in at times by everybody. But obviously Sterling played well against Croatia, but he had the space to run in behind. That might not be there tonight. So it's going to be interesting to see how he lines up. But I think it'll be a very tough game. I'm going to go for 1-1. I think Scotland have to get a point. They have to get something. And I've got the beers ready in the fridge. I'm really up for this tonight. I've been waiting for this for a long time. It's been a tough year, 15 months for everybody, and I hope we can have a good cheer tonight and have a good time.
We've got to remember home crowd as well. We have to remember home crowd. Yeah. If I'm someone in that crowd, I'm not allowing England to get away with a draw. I'm not allowing it. There will be chaos in the stands. There'll be some Scotland fans, I'm sure there will be, but there will be absolute carnage in that stadium. And
I totally agree. It does. It's going to make things a little bit scary. This is not a normal Euros, is it? where everyone's playing at home. It's not in a particular country, and I think that's going to have a massive impact. And I think you're right. We should be very wary of that. I've seen a lot of comments about Grealish and Sancho. Charlie touched upon that. Now, obviously, all four of us are going to be extremely biased. So is everyone in the chat. But I would start Sancho if he's fit, and it's not because that maybe he might be signing for United or whatever it might be. I would start him. I think he's a very good player. I know that he hasn't been amazing for England, but I really feel that he's a great player that he will be ready for this. He will be ready for this. You know, being still a young man who's had 3 phenomenal seasons at Dortmund, this is ultimately the biggest stage, whether you like it or not. And younger kids, inexperienced kids will have no fear. And I feel that, you know, you play the likes of him and Bellingham, you know, I feel that in a game like this, it could actually work to your benefit. And on Grealish as well, I feel that he should start. I love him. I absolutely love him as a player. I think he gives you that dynamic. I think he gives you a completely different one. And he can pop in those pockets and run across the whole of the front line behind Kane and create a little bit more that I don't think Sterling offers. And probably Sancho does a similar sort of thing too, yeah? So anyway, I'm going to move on to Maguire. Touched upon this earlier. Obviously, reports, pictures, images, whatever else are suggesting, or at least Harry has declared himself fit. Now, Stu, I think I know what your answer is going to be, and I think I know what everyone else's is going to be. Me personally, in fact, I'll let you go first. Would you play him tonight based on the fact that he's declared himself fit? Obviously, England coaches, staff, medical will have to do their bit too, and I'm not sure they're going to just play on his words, but would you play him tonight?
No. Look, a centre half has got to be mobile. He's got to be good in the air. He'll be training. He would have trained hard, but this type of game is going to be too quick for him. Let's win the game, and then let's play him in the final group match. Because for us, if we win this game, the group match will have nothing on it. You know, we should finish top if we win this game. Look, when you've got a knee ligament injury, part of the centre half is to be strong. Got to be good in the air. You've got to be able to plant your knee perfect, because that helps you get up to win headers. You've got to be quick on the turn. There's a variety of different things you've got to be 100% at. And unfortunately, Maguire hasn't played now for 8 weeks, something along those lines. Yeah. You can't just jump into a game of this level, of this importance, and start Maguire. Bench for me.
Thank you, mate. Couldn't follow my mouse then. Yeah. Okay. Henry, do you agree? Would you start Harry? And if you don't, or you wouldn't start Harry, when would you, if he is fit?
It depends on the result tonight. I wouldn't start him tonight. I think, you know, he declared himself fit. That for me, that's rubbish. You don't, as a player, you don't declare yourself fit. The medical staff do that for you, and the manager decides whether you're fit enough to play or not. And I don't think he is. You know, I don't think you risk him in a game. A lot's riding on this game. We need a win. I know people will say, "Oh, draw's okay." We need a win. We just need to win. It's at Wembley. It's against your rivals, and you don't want to put yourself in jeopardy before the starting whistle's gone in the first place. So no, I 100% wouldn't start him. Again, you don't declare yourself fit. The medical staff do that. You can't go saying to the media, you know, because that puts pressure on the manager as well. Just leave it. Just leave it behind closed doors. Let the managerial staff make the decision for you. I'm of a mindset. I don't like Tyrone Mings, by the way. I just don't like him.
He had a good game against Croatia, though.
He had one good game, but he's rash and reckless. He was reckless against Romania a couple of times in that game. I'm thinking, when I watch that game, why on earth is he starting? Like, respectfully, he's not a very good player. He's a bit of a bastard, really, isn't he? He's a excuse my language, he just goes around kicking people. He has got a hell of a lot of talent on him, and that can be good and bad. But Tyrone Mings is not, a top international player. So Maguire needs to start the next game, provided we win this one, because him and Stones are going to be critical if we're going to make it through to the last stage of this tournament.
Yeah.
Tyrone Mings will get, if he comes up against Mbappe, I'll close my eyes alternatively.
Yeah, I know
There's no way I'm watching that.
Squeaky bum time, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
but hopefully it'd be a bastard against him, Henry? Lots of people agreeing with you, Charlie, in the chat. Starting Shaw, obviously not United fans, going to be a little bit biased. I was shocked to not see him last week. I think Trippier or James, actually, I know Trippier's got the experience. He's good at going forward, okay defending, good on set pieces, but I probably would play Reece James. I'd play Luke Shaw and Reece James, and or even Chilwell, without being biased. I think we need to play a left-hand sided player.
Yeah.
Fucking poser, Chilwell. Hate him. Fucking poser.
I'm not a fan of him, but he has had a decent season, and I wouldn't be disappointed if he started. But I'd love to see Luke start. I think he deserves it.
That's more like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question for you then, Charlie. Harry Maguire. You kind of touched upon it earlier. You wouldn't play him tonight, would you?
No, I wouldn't start him tonight. Provided we win this game, as Henry said, I'd start him against the Czech Republic probably. About the declare themselves fit, that's a load of rubbish as well, because Rashford's been playing for 3 months for Man United when he shouldn't have been anyway. Ollie, that's a fault of Ollie and Rashford himself. He shouldn't have been playing. He's injured. Every player wants to play, so declaring yourself fit, basically means you can play, but you're not going to play to the best of your ability. And just a point on Sancho. People saying Sancho should start. I don't think Sancho will start, and I wouldn't start him. And the reason why I wouldn't start him is I think Sancho's work rate going back the way, defending, isn't very good. And I think Southgate will look today and think, with Tierney and Roberts on that Scotland left-hand side, I think he'll play Trippier at right back, and I think he'll play Sterling at right wing, because he can trust Sterling. He's got more experience. He will track back. And on the left, I think if Grealish starts, he'll play Chilwell, because Shaw, if Mings starts, Mings and Shaw started next to each other against Romania, and it wasn't very good in my opinion. And I think if Mings starts, Chilwell will start, because Shaw is slightly more advanced than Chilwell, and Shaw is a bit more attacking than Chilwell. He goes on more sort of crazy runs than Chilwell does,
which is very strange to say, isn't it? But he has been phenomenal going forward this season.
Yeah, and I think Southgate trusts Chilwell more. So I think he will start Chilwell over Shaw. And again, with the Sancho point, I think if Sancho started on that right-hand side, I think our right-hand side would get absolutely battered. I think he'll start Sterling, and I think he'll say to Sterling, right, you've got to do your defensive job as well. And people saying Mason Mount has to start as well. You can't drop Mason Mount. He's top quality.
He is
top quality.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, we have got other top quality number 10s that can play. And I think it would be good to rotate those players around. And that's a good problem to have, right? If just one quick question for you, Charlie, again. If Sancho does start, who would you rather have as a right back in order to provide that defensive cover that, you're right, Sancho doesn't really give?
I'd probably say Trippier, really. I think Trippier is, out of all the fullbacks we have on that right-hand side, I trust Trippier more than anybody just to do a job, but I think that Scotland left-hand side, I think Tierney and Robertson could cause a lot of problems. I think we've got to be very careful. And, I think whoever's playing at that right winger, Southgate's going to say, right, you need to track back. So playing Grealish might not be a bad idea, because I don't know who plays right wing back for Scotland, but I don't think they offer much on that right-hand side. So you're going to have
McTominay probably.
If Grealish starts on that left, I think a lot of the play will go down the left for England. So Southgate will say, well, Trippier, you've got to sit, and then Sancho or Sterling, whoever's ahead, you've got to do your job.
Am I going nuts, or are we forgetting that Reece James was one of the best players in the Champions League final? Like I genuinely I love his strength. He's everything you want. He's a Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker is like a Wish.com Reece James. He really is. He's got pace. He's got power. He's good at defending. For some reason, he's great at somehow getting goal side and nicking the ball off a defender when he's behind them. It's crazy. I think he's one of the best wing backs or full backs in the world at the moment, Reece James. I really do. I know it might be a bold statement, but I think he's fantastic. And he's
I don't disagree with that. And you know what? I'm glad it's a split decision, because I think this kind of proves that really we in many years, or 4 years prior, 2 years prior, and the rest of it, we would never really be fixed on what we are having. Or at least if we were, we wouldn't have the backup in order to instill something, and we've got that now. So I think that's a real positive. Listen, I'm going to have to wrap things up. We have gone over. This has been a wonderful discussion. I really appreciate all of your thoughts today. Charlie, really good observations on some of those points, so thanks very much. Stu, as always, good to see you, buddy. Great stuff. Henry, lovely to have you on, mate. Thanks to everybody in the comments today. Really good talks going around. And obviously, I hope after 10 o'clock tonight, for those English fans in the comments, that everybody is very, very happy. Listen, thanks for joining today. Good to see you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.